Now look here, mate. I'm not interested in this social media beef bullshit. I just want to knock a man out cold. Subscribe, like and donate, or I'll put you to sleep like David Nika. Oh, thanks, Jay. Hey, I don't think there's not a lot of man out there who wants to bang with Jai Opetaia. Believe that. He'll put you 6 foot under. Anyway, yeah. So everybody knows who watches the channel that I'm a big Jai Opetaia fan. And there's a number of reasons for this. I remember when he was fighting Cruiserweight great Maris Bredis, a very tough guy, a very underrated fighter. You remember when he KO'd, he went up, just for fun, he went up to everyone, KO'd Manuel Char, face down, ass up. You remember that? Anyway, you know, he's a very tough guy, but I watched some Jai Opetaia footage, right, before the Maris Bredis fight, the first one, and I said to me fans, and he was like 4-1 outside, I said, he's going to win this, and I think he's going to win it on points, because Bredis is very tough. Everyone's like, no way, man, he's too inexperienced. Maris Bredis is really good. I said, I know he's really good. I know the man's really good and can fight, but I'm telling you, I watched Jai Opetaia videos, and I see his footwork, his natural boxing talent. I don't need to tell you about the speed, the power, the accuracy that he possesses as well. But it's his footwork that's super impressive as well. You know, he'll do that thing where you see that with real good boxers, right? They're bouncing on their feet, They'll take that little half step back, just so they're just out of range when the other man's throwing. And then they'll, boom, they'll go forward, a foot, and just bang the other man out, you know? So, so predicting that win was big for me. And, you know, no one believed him. And then obviously everyone believed him after. You remember also he didn't have a broken back like Mike Tyson. Spinal, no, but he had a broken jaw in like 2 places. He was apparently sucking soup and noodles out of straws for like 3 months. This guy's a warrior, man. You just need to look in the Bredis' eyes, okay? A dark, man. But... you know, sometimes I think, man, is he a psychopath? But he's always, you know, he's a psychopath in the ring. Well, not, you know, he'll do the business, but why shouldn't he, man? There's another man in there trying to hit him and take away his cash money, his living. So, of course, man, you got to take care of business and be brutal, vicious, the most brutal ever, the most vicious, like Alexander. Yeah? Chris Smith, he ain't no Alexander. Jai Opetaia's Alexander. Yeah? I'm being a bit mean. Chris Smith was a very tough guy, actually, and likable. But I would hate to see him in the ring with Jai Opetaia because he would be brutalized. Billam Smith. He's got a great chin and everything. He's gutsy, but he'd be brutalized. And, you know, obviously, so I like Jay for his style, for the fact that I spotted him early. I'm proud of that. And now, you know, he's in the pound for pound. You know, everyone's raving about him. But Triple B spotted him before. And all the doubters were doubting. And he beat Bredis twice. I mean, Bredis is a super fighter, very tough. He was actually favourite to stop Bredis in the second fight, but I said, nah, it'll be a points win again. And it was. But that's not because Jay can't punch holes through walls and is vicious. It's just that Bredis is a very clever guy with a very good chin. And Opetaia won clearly. And in the last couple of fights, so we've had Opetaia. I mean, he's been destructive. I mean, you know. I'm not, you know, there's not that many good cruiserweights around because a lot of them move up to heavyweight because that's where the big cash money is. And one day, Jai Opetaia will move up to cruiserweight. To heavyweight from cruiserweight. Now, I think he wants to unify the title and then move up. Some people complain he's a bit small. You know, he's 6'2", allegedly. You know, he's a career 200-pounder, but he looks small against David Nika, and what's his name, Jordan Thompson, both of whom he took out in the 4th round in some style. Both of whom were sent to sleep. And poor Ellis Zorro, You know, even though he was unbeaten, I remember I was like, man, I won a lot of money on that Jay. I was like, he's going to KO him, and he's going to do him. I think I just predicted 1 to 3 rounds, because sometimes fighters like to take a look in the first round. But, you know, he looks very small compared to Thompson and Nika. It was like, whoa, it looked like different weight divisions, but they're very tall. But, you know, he has got a natural heavyweights frame. I mean, cruiserweight is his natural weight, but listen, man, Usyk is not a natural heavyweight. And he beat the best twice. Jay twice. Tyson Fury twice. You know. And Usyk hasn't got Jay's power. Now, in his last fight, he banged out David Nika, who's a big puncher, very tall, a real talent. He came in late, and he gave it his all. It was a real firefight. I mean, Jai Opetaia just did not care about defense. He just wanted to take care of business. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's no wildness, but he just didn't seem to care about defense. Nika did actually make his legs do a little wobble. I missed it actually when I watched the fight live, but I saw it again and I was like, yeah, he dipped his legs. But, you know, firstly, there's no real disgrace in that. Nika's a huge puncher, right? And Opetaia just didn't seem to care that much about defense. He has got a good defense when he wants to, you know? He's very good at judging the distance and then counter-punching and firing back. You know, a nightmare to fight. He wants to kill you. Afterwards, he'll be a pal. Like I said, his eyes are so dark. Like he hardly ever seems to smile. But you know, he's a no-nonsense man. Right? He represents Australia. He's of Samoan heritage on his dad's side, right? And his mum is, I think, white Australian. It's crazy, the Samoans, right? Samoan people, he's an islander. So, you know, they're always tough, right? But, you know, the population of Samoa itself is 225,000. American Samoa is 43,000. Yeah, and I think the global population of Samoans is about 600,000 total, right? So it's estimated between 500 and 600,000 people, okay? Yet, you see how many good sportsmen they've got. I mean, the most interesting one is the NFL, right? American Samoa has 44,000 people in it, in 20, to date, at this moment. And you have 40 NFL players. I mean, there is nothing. Imagine going to a smallish town with 44,000 people and saying, 40 of our guys play in the NFL. You'd be like, nah, or play any kind of professional sport. I mean, you know, Samoans are big, strong, and they can take a punch. They say, I've said it before, the Islanders, you know, they're friendly. You know, they like to have a beer and that, and they like to eat, but, you know, you don't mess with them or you get ironed out. Anyway, so Jai Opetaia is looking for a unification match, right? He wants to unify and then move up to heavyweight. And the guy he's looking at, obviously, is Gilberto Ramirez. Gilberto Ramirez, you know, he's the, WBO champion. Right, whereas Opetaia is IBF world champion. I thought Ramirez was WBA as well. No, he's only WBO. Okay, but so that's the big fight. Okay, that's the big fight. Turkey wants it, so that's always a good thing. It'll be a unification fight, right? Now, who would win? Well, look. You know who my man is. My man's Jai anyway. But, you know, you've got to be objective in boxing. Okay? And I have to say, I can't wait for the odds for this to come out. Because they rate Gilberto Ramirez in the United States and world. You know, they were saying, he's such a classy boxer. Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look at Gilberto Ramirez. Right? Now, he used to be a light heavyweight. He used to be a light heavyweight. He came up against Dimitri Bivol and lost on points. That's no disgrace, but it was quite clear victory for Dimitri, you know. Ramirez was never in it. Before that, who's he beaten? Let's look at, Tommy Carpenti, Sullivan Barrera. I mean, there's no real big names here, man. Jesse Hart. I mean, I'm just looking at Jesse names that Arthur Abraham. He fought an ancient Arthur Abraham for the world super middleweight title. So he's won he won the WBO world super middleweight title. But an ancient Arthur Abraham, and then he defended against some bums I've never heard of. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenses of the super middleweight title. 2 against Jesse Hart. I mean, these, and Habib Ahmed. Who's that? Who's Ramir Alexis Angulo? I mean, I don't know. Who's Maxim Bursak? I've never heard of these guys. I'm not saying they're bums, but if I haven't heard of them, bloods, and I love boxing, they're not. They ain't going to be world class. Okay. He moved up to light heavyweight, like I said. And he was being touted, and I never really understood it. Now, you've got to understand the Hispanic and Latino peoples, especially in the United States, they love their boxing, the Mexicans especially. They buy a lot of pay-per-views, and so they're always looking for a big Mexican star. They see what Canelo has done, Julio Cesar Chavez, guys like that, Barrera. These guys all came to America and made a lot of money. And made a lot of pay-per-views, made a lot of money for everybody, And so they're always kind of looking, the US, they're always looking for a Mexican superstar because they know it's going to sell. And they decided, who's the other guy? Jesse Benavidez? He's fighting soon as well, in quite a good fight. Who's he fighting again, man? Jesse Benavidez. Oh, he's fighting the David Morrell. Yeah. So, that's another guy they're really pushing just because he's a Macon. Man, I think I'm losing my mind, blood. I'm forgetting names and stuff. I called Daniel Dubum, David Dubum. The other day I called Ben Whitaker, Ben Shalom. And it's not Jesse Benavidez, it's David Benavidez, excuse me. I knew I got it wrong. I was like, hang on, man, that doesn't sound right. Now, he's from the United States, but he's of Macon origin, I'm fairly sure. Well, actually, he's half Mexican, half Ecuadorian, but born in the US. But obviously, they push the Macon aspect because that's where the cash money is. I can't believe I'm forgetting all these names, man. Soon I'll be forgetting Tyson Fury's name. I'll be calling him Luke Partridge. If you know, no. So Gilberto Ramirez. I mean, he started off as a super middleweight, won the title. He couldn't make it a light heavyweight because Dimitri schooled him. Okay, and that's important. He schooled him. And I was just never that impressed, with Ramirez. I'd look at him and go, well, he's okay. He's definitely world class. He's definitely decent. But to me, he's not no pound for pound. He ain't no superstar. And he moved up to Cruiserweight in 2023. His first fight was against Joe Smith Jr. Now, Joe Smith Jr., they both weighed 191, so just under the limit. And I remember thinking, he still looks a bit podgy, old Ramirez. And Joe Smith Jr. is really a light heavyweight, but he moved up. But, Joe Smith was, I've always liked him. He was game. Unfortunately, he was owned by mafiosi, That's the reality. That's the reality. But, he was a game, working class white fighter, builder, I think he was. But, he wasn't limited, but he always had a limit on where he would go, but he won world titles. Obviously, he lost clearly on points to Bivol. And he eventually won the WBO World Light Heavyweight title, vacant against Maxim Vlasov. I don't know. Some of these guys I've never heard of. He defended against Steve Jeffrod. I have never heard of this guy. Never in my life. And I can't even remember that fight. But the funniest one, of course, was when he KO'd Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins got knocked out of the ring by Smith Jr., knocked clean out the ring. And afterwards, Hopkins was complaining. He was counting out outside the ring, man. And he's like, I slipped. I fell out. And they didn't let me get back in and carry on. Hopkins is such a vile person. And he'd done 10 years for armed robbery. Now, you know, that ain't his first armed robbery. And for 10 years, I mean, it's a bit murky. They don't really talk about it. But apparently in prison, he was known as Soapy Bernard because he used to go into like the showers and grape other guys. That's a rumor. I can't back it. But he hangs out with Oscar De La Hoya, so who knows, man. But he hates white people. You remember Bernard Hopkins? I ain't losing to the white boy. I ain't losing to the white boy. To Joe Calzaghe, who then outpointed him clearly. And then he got ironed out by Joe Smith Jr. So that's very satisfying. Like I say, I don't have a problem if someone wants to be racist, right? It's up to them. It's completely up to other people to decide if they like nationalities, if they like certain cultures. You know, so what? Everyone's, you know, all this, you're not allowed to say this, you're not allowed to do that. Well, they allow you to say what you want against white people. You go on Twitter and say white people should die, and you're fine. But you say that about, you know, any other race, you know, especially people who like a kind of hat or you know, black guys, and then, you know, they'll put in prison for that. It's just crazy. I mean, this is a reflection of what the agenda is. And also the other guy, there was a guy called Andrzej Fonfara, who was a decent enough fighter from Poland. Joe Smith Jr. smashed him. So he's beaten world-class fighters, Joe Smith Jr., but Gilberto Ramirez outpointed him quite clearly. I mean, Joe Smith is limited in the sense, he's a warrior, but he's limited. Then, what's his face? Ramirez fought Arsene Goulamirian, who was unbeaten, and he beat him very clearly on points. I thought it was for the title, man, for some kind of title, but looking at it, I think maybe Goulamirian, I thought he had the title, but maybe he had it, he was stripped of it, but went for the money fight, and so you should. So you should. Money over titles. Money over titles. You know, them title belts are not going to put food on the table. Yeah. Anyway, he fought for the cruiserweight title, Gilberto Ramirez, and he beat Chris Billam-Smith on points. Smith, heart, you know, to me he's just a European level fighter, and I'm not disrespecting him, but you know, he's got heart and he's tough, and you know, he took some rounds. He took some rounds off Gilberto Ramirez, you know. I mean, Ramirez was clearly the winner, but it wasn't, you know, a schooling, you know. Billam-Smith was tough, and he took some rounds. And what that means is that Ramirez has had 3 fights at cruiserweight, and they've all gone the distance, okay? And his last 4 fights have gone the distance, including the loss to Bivol. So he's not a massive puncher. And I remember remarking, as I said, against Joe Smith Jr., he looks a bit chubby. He looks a bit chubby at cruiserweight. He's obviously not doing the PEDs properly. Zurdo Ramirez. I don't know what Zurdo means. I just looked it up. I do now. Apparently it means left-handed. So Gilberto, left-handed Ramirez. Yeah. So, like, you know, I'm not saying I don't rate Ramirez, but I certainly don't rate him as a pound for pound or as a superstar, whereas I do Jai Opetaia. And in my mind, and there's a lot of people, I've seen a lot of chat on Twitter and places like that, on forums, and they're saying, oh, people are going for Ramirez. And I'm like, man, these guys, I mean, a lot of guys go for Opetaia as well, but still, I'm thinking these guys are chipping, man. He's going to get brutalized by Opetaia. Opetaia is a natural cruiser. He's going to move up to heavyweight. Ramirez, probably natural light heavyweight, even though he did fight at super middle. He's a slightly chubby cruiserweight. And, you know, in my opinion, Jai Opetaia would brutalize him, will stop him. You know, he's not Dimitri Bivol with his powder puff punches and safety first approach. This guy wants your head, and he wants your head on a stick. Yeah, and then after he's almost killed you in the ring, he'll be nice to you. But, you know, you got to go through that violence first. No, they should make this fight. You know, like I said, the cruiserweight has never been that full of talent. A lot of guys move up to heavyweight because, you know, they know that's where the big bucks is. You know, even Franz Botha used to be a cruiserweight, but he knew. He won the IBF title, Franzi Botha, but got stripped of it against, I think it was Axel Schultz because of steroids, PEDs, but and I think he was the first, I think I'm right in saying he's the first fighter ever to fail a drugs test, and they used never to bother. I like to go back in time to the 70s, 80s, yeah, with a whole bag of PEDs, cherry my butt off and see how far I could go in boxing. But anyway, that's impossible without a time machine. because it makes so much difference. I've said it a million times. I've done D-ball once, and I felt like I was Superman, even though I was, technically, middle-aged. There's one big problem, though, anyway, before the fight happens, right? And the WBO, unfortunately, have decided that Ramirez must fight a mandatory titles. And it says, hang on a minute. Let me have a look at this. I'm reading this off the Boxing News website. Ramirez has instead been ordered to defend his titles against WBA Mandatory Challenger Uniel Dorticos. Okay. Yeah, I thought he had the WBA title as well as WBO. And now I realize I was looking at BoxRec. You know BoxRec? The great site for checking out people's fighters. Yeah, look at the fighters' records. And the amateurs' records are usually never complete, but you get some really interesting stuff. You find out some really interesting stuff looking at people's amateur careers. Like Mike McCallum got stopped twice as an amateur. Anyway, now I realize why BoxRec do not recognize the WBA, weirdly. I mean, they should. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why. But they've decided, I mean, I think that's disingenuous, Yeah, the WBA are ridiculous with their regular titles and the this and that and the other and whatever's. And they also don't recognize Bridgerweight, BoxRec. I think it's slightly disingenuous. Unfortunately, this is about records. You should make a note of that. So, his WBO and WBA title, and Opetaia's the IBF championship. So it's the proper, more or less undisputed title. Okay. However, the WBA have ordered Ramirez to defend his titles against a mandatory challenger, Uniel Dorticos. And they've got until February 15th to reach an agreement, allegedly. Dorticos, what's he like? He's old. He's 38. He's from Cuba. He did get the IBF belt, knocking out Andrew Tabiti. And that's like 2019. But then he lost it to Maris Bredes in his next fight. So that was on points. So there's no disgrace to that. Maris Bredes is a super fighter. He also got KO'd though in 12 by Murat Gasayev, who was a good fighter as well. So again, it's not really a disgrace, but this guy's 38, right? Right? He's had one fight in over 2 years. He fought in July of 2024, but before that, his last fight, June 2024. His last fight was in December 2022. So he's been inactive. And he only had one fight in 2021, and one fight in 2020, and one fight in 2019. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Over the course of almost 6 years, he's only had 5 fights, and one of them was a loss. I mean, the WBA are just a joke, and I realize that, but, we're missing out on a good fight because they think, I mean, I bet there's some brown envelopes going around. Because the WBA surely must know that Uniel Dorticos can't draw flies to dog shit. I'm sure some brown envelopes have been going around because some of these weird mandatories just don't make any sense otherwise, from a fighter's record perspective and a cash money perspective. So he has to fight Uniel Dorticos Ramirez, or he'll get stripped. Now, there are 2 options there. There are 3 options probably. Firstly, you could just go forget about your WBA. Now that'll be annoying because then he loses the WBA title without fighting, and it sort of lessens the strength of the undisputed fight, or rather the unification fight, right? Which would be a shame because, the winner would get 3 titles. However, I don't know. Certainly, you can pay guys step-aside money, and that's a great way. Look, man, if you're fighting, if you're a mandatory, and I get offered, you get 100 large step aside money or more or whatever. Or if you're a flyweight, you probably get offered $5,000 step aside money. But you're taking that, man. Imagine missing out on all that money and not taking a single punch, and you'll still get your fight anyway. So sometimes though they don't allow that, some of these organizations, but there's that. So you could just drop the title, pay Dorticos to step aside, right? Or you just have to fight Dorticos, which, I mean, Dorticos would have been a tough fight for him, but a few years ago. But he's 39, which and as I said, he's fought 5 times in almost 6 years. I mean, I wouldn't expect. No one's interested in that. No one's interested in that. So that's a real shame. Unfortunately, it looks like he will have to take that fight, because there's been no talk so far of dropping the title, no talk of paying step-aside money. So unfortunately, we may have to wait for Ramirez to get through Dorticos before the Jai Opetaia unification. But, Jay likes to fight. He only likes to fight. He don't like no social media BS. Hey, he just wants to fight, man. He don't even like the press conferences. In his last press conference, he goes, "I'm sick of this. I'm not interested in all this talk. I just want to fight." And he had, sure enough, he ironed out David Nika, sent him to sleep in a vicious KO. So, unfortunately, we may have to wait for this fight, and I sincerely hope it happens. Jay will probably take another fight in between rather than just hang around and wait. The man likes to fight. The man likes to bang people out. The man likes to send a man to sleep. It's his favourite occupation, sending a brother to sleep by punching him in the face like Norbit. So, hopefully we see this. Like I said, I mean, I'm like backing Jay 100%. I'm looking forward to the odds if the fight happens. I reckon they will go evens. And I'm dumping on Opetaia. Anyway, yeah, my man's peace in the Middle East, guys.